Hey folks, this is Billy DKY, the truth seeker that simplifies and demystifies. This is going to be my TUF 10 finale post-fight commentary. We'll start with the first fight, Roy Nelson versus Brandon Schaub. I can summarize that fight up in one word. Holy shit, Big Country is for real. I mean, he knocked Brandon senseless in just one shot, and I think that's pretty much what he did to the guy on the show too. So, but Brandon was real good in getting out of the crucifix attempt by Roy Nelson of Big Country. So you have to take your hat off to Brandon Schaub. But wow. Second thing I want to say about this is, Dana White needs to give Big Roy his respect. I knew Roy was pretty smart when Dana was questioning him, but Dana said he wasn't impressed with his first fight, and Roy said, "Hey, look, I was doing it that way to preserve my body for the next fight." He wasn't just putting a show on; he was thinking the next move down the next fight down the road. So I think Dana needs to show a little more respect and quit creating negative energy towards Roy, because I personally don't have anything against Roy. I mean, he's just a little different, but who cares, Anyway, let's see what else I had to say on this. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I don't really have anything else to say on that other than I really would like to see Roy lose some weight, get a nutritionist, and it was a really good fight, and it definitely could have happened, and it did happen. So anyway, next fight. Next fight is going to be Matt Hamill versus Jon Jones, and this pretty much went like I thought it would go. And however, I mean, let's start with the big fact. We all know who really won that fight, Jon Jones. It don't matter what his record says. We know who won. Matt Hamill looked like a broken man after that fight. He got totally destroyed. And to me, when he come down to that 6-12 elbow, I guess maybe it don't matter where you hit, but he was going to get stopped within a few seconds anyway. It was an amazing performance by Jon Jones. However, Matt Hamill had a few moments there where I thought he might actually be able to do something with him, but Jon Jones is for real, and let's see what else I had. But in the first one, I think he had a real nice trip on Matt Hamill, and let's say Matt Hamill's an awesome wrestler. So when I was watching Jon Jones fight, it reminded me of that. I'm gonna get the Wilt Chamberlain versus Bruce Lee back in the day, and I can't remember what movie it was. But that sort of, he's so long and lanky. He had like 9 inches of reach on him, or 8.5 inches. Okay, next fight: Kimbo Slice versus Houston Alexander. I was afraid that might happen. I just could see somebody thinking, maybe I don't want to get in there, and then I could take advantage because I know what the other guy's going to do. And that's exactly what Houston Alexander did. He turned the first round into a boring fight. The first round absolutely sucked. I am glad it went to the second round, and I'm glad that when Kimbo threw him out, I was like, hell yes, Kimbo. Thank God for doing something, because I'm convinced Houston Alexander would have ran around for 3 rounds if you'd let him. There's a point to having strategy, and there's a point, don't have a strategy, I ain't going to fight. That's not your strategy. It's not a good strategy, and it's not a fan favorite, and it's not going to keep you in the UFC. Okay, blah, blah, blah. And then he did it again. He threw Houston again. I was like, yes, and it looked like he damn near broke his neck. I bet he'll have some neck problems tomorrow, because it looked pretty bad. And blah blah blah. Anyway, third round, Kimbo just finishes it up. He wins it. It's awesome. And again, for us being YouTubers, we got to be behind Kimbo a little bit, even if if you're a bigot anyway, you still got behind him. He's a YouTuber. You know what I'm saying? And you also got to be thankful for Kimbo coming in here. He's a street fighter. He could have just stayed on the street and pretend he's the baddest guy in the world. But he came in and showed what he was against real top-flight competition. So, you got to have to take your hat off to him. Even if you don't like the guy, you still got to give him some respect. And like I say, you don't have to like him. But anyway, good job, Kimbo. Oh, I thought this was hilarious. After the fight, at the end of the third round, man, they both just like, whoo, woo! And neither one wanted to raise their hand in celebration. They both were just gasping for breath. And just like, oh my God, thank God that's over. So I thought that was funny. Okay, next fight, Big Baby, Marcus Jones versus Matt Matreon. And I mean, basically, got to take your hat off to Matt Matreon. He did what he had to do, and he won that thing. And so you just got to say good job him, even though he's never going to be a fan favorite, even though he tried to do a little bit of damage control after the fight, giving respect to everybody, and, you know, maybe not being as much of a jerk. Maybe over time, you know, if he keeps performing, people will forget about it. But let's see what I said. Looks like I could have done that. Oh, at the end of the first round, it looked like Matt Matreon, he could have stopped it because he had Big Baby hurt, but he just didn't follow up on it. And but he did wind up finishing in the second round. Was, you know, good for him. Anyway, let's see what else I had to say. I would like to see Matt Matreon fight Mirko Krokop. That's what I think I'd like to see him fight. Because I'm still at the point where I still want to see Matt Matreon get hurt. I'd like to see him fight somebody that's a great striker, and I think that would be a good fight for Mirko Krokop. They're both not... I think Mirko sort of come down. Matt's coming up. I think, but Mirko could probably still handle him. And the next point I wanted to make is for Big Baby is, you know, karma's a bitch. You know, you shouldn't have got up in Matt Matreon's face. The other guy, you know, on the show when he hurt that guy's eye with an eye poke or something. You know, it's a fight, man. If you don't want injuries, you don't want that at risk, then you don't need to be in the cage. And when you get in that cage, you accept that responsibility. So, you know, Matt Matreon's causing a lot of issues on the show, but because of the eye poke, there's no reason for that, you know. So, you know, you shouldn't have got in his face, and, you know, you get what you deserve sometimes. I'm not saying it's why he lost, but, you know, sometimes it does work that way. Let's see, I think oh, here's point 2 I was going to say. When the money gets right, we'll see more guys starting out in the MMA instead of going to football. You know, once we start getting some serious money and this thing gets even bigger, we're going to start pulling people away from, you know, NFL and places like that. So, anyway, next fight. Frankie Edgar versus Matt Veach. And, I mean, that was a great slam, man. That was the a la Matt Hughes slam. And it was, I mean, you know that's got to be hard on your hip because it hit right on Frankie Edgar's hip. And, you know, sometimes I've seen the wrestlers, they'll land on their hands. You know that's got to break your hand sometime or at least damage it, you would think. And then he did it again. I was like, oh my gosh. Frankie Edgar's hips are going to be sore tomorrow, no doubt. And but, you know, Frankie Edgar did what he had to do. And so you got to say, hey, good job, Frankie Edgar. And pretty much all I want to say on that. And I'm not going to talk about the other fights. Not really, no. That's all I'm going to say on that. So let's finish up with a few things that I want to talk about. They did mention that Tito and Chuck will be the Ultimate Fighter coaches for season 11, which that's not bad. I mean, it could have been better, I guess, but I don't really know who I'd have picked for off the top of my head. So that's a fight. I would like to see Tito fight him. You know, I'd like to see Tito and Chuck fight again. That would be fine with me. And I had a few other miscellaneous things that some people were harassing me about on the BJ commentary when I said he was the feminine fighting style. And I really didn't explain. I couldn't get my words out. So let me explain a little bit now. When I say feminine, I don't mean gay or anything like that. Feminine is more like this. Feminine, or let me describe masculine first. It's more of a forceful. You're forcing your will on somebody else. That's a masculine way. Where the feminine is like, okay, I'll do this, and you know, more Aikido kind of stuff. And if you notice what BJ Penn does, he uses more of a softer technique. And he doesn't waste a lot of energy taking people down, and then, you know, when he gets the rear naked choke, that's when he exerts his manhood, his force on them. So when I say feminine, it means you're defeating somebody without using force. Masculine, I mean you're using force, and that goes into my other point that I wanted to point out. This is pretty much a fundamental principle of life. Use your energy wisely. If you want to be a great martial artist, if you just want to live a great life, use your energy wisely, and that doubly applies for martial arts. Don't waste your energy picking some guy up and throwing him. You know, you've seen BJ Penn could do that to Kenny Floyd, but he didn't waste his energy doing it. He used his energy wisely. Anyway, folks, remember to hit the 10 minutes. If you don't mind, please rate it. Until I see you again, later, folks.